There's a kind of trust we place in the things that arrive at our door. A package, a delivery. It's just part of life. Harmless. Expected. But what happens when something arrives uninvited? Something that knows you better than you know yourself? This is the story of Emma and a delivery that wasn't meant for the living. Emma lived alone in a small house on a forgotten street, the kind of place where the world seemed to pass by unnoticed. It was her sanctuary. Until that night. It was just after midnight, the hour when the air feels too still, too heavy. She was half asleep on her couch, the TV casting flickering shadows across the walls when it came. Ding dong. The doorbell. It wasn't just loud, it was wrong, like a scream trapped in a chime. She sat up, heart stuttering. She hadn't ordered anything. No one visited this late. Her phone showed no delivery alerts, no texts, just silence. She told herself it was nothing. A prank, a mistake. But her feet moved toward the door, drawn by something she couldn't name. The porch light buzzed as she flicked it on, revealing a single cardboard box waiting on the mat. It was small, stained, the edges damp like it had been sitting in rain. But the night was bone dry. Her name was scrawled across the top in jagged black ink. Emma, like someone had carved it with a knife. No sender, no address, just her name trembling in the light. She should have left it there. She should have called someone, but curiosity is a cruel thing. She brought it inside, the door locking behind her with a hollow thud. The box smelled faintly of something sour, something old. Her hands shook as she set it on the kitchen table, the knife in her grip catching the light like a warning. She sliced it open. The air seemed to thicken, pressing against her skin. Inside was a photograph. Not a glossy print, but something faded, crinkled, like it had been buried and dug up. It showed a woman sleeping in bed, her face pale, her chest still. Emma's bed, Emma's pillow, Emma's face. But her eyes in the photo were open, staring blankly at the ceiling, unblinking, as if she wasn't asleep at all. Emma gasped, the photo slipping from her fingers. It fluttered to the floor, landing face up, those empty eyes staring back. She lived alone. No one had been in her room. No one could have taken this. Her pulse roared in her ears as she backed away, her shadow stretching across the wall like something reaching for her. The kitchen felt smaller now, the corners darker, like the house itself was watching. The lights sputtered, plunging the room into brief, suffocating darkness before snapping back on. Her phone vibrated violently on the counter, skittering like a trapped insect. She lunged for it, her fingers clumsy, and saw the message from an unknown number. Your next package arrives in 3 minutes. 3 minutes? Not 5, not 10. 3. The precision felt like a threat, like something was counting down to her. Emma's breath hitched. She stumbled to the door, twisting the deadbolt, checking it twice, 3 times. She ran to the windows, yanking curtains shut, but the street outside was wrong. Too empty, too silent, the streetlights dimming like they were being smothered. She clutched her phone, dialing 911, but the call wouldn't connect. Just static. And beneath it, something like a voice, too low to make out, whispering her name. Exactly 3 minutes later, the doorbell screamed again. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, frantic, unending, until it stopped so suddenly her ears rang. She didn't want to look. She didn't want to know. But the silence was worse, pressing against her like a living thing. She crept to the door, her bare feet cold on the floor, and peered through the peephole. Nothing. Just the porch. And another box. This one was larger, its sides bulging, wet stains spreading like blood. She opened the door. She couldn't stop herself, like her hands weren't her own. The box was heavier, slick, leaving a residue on her fingers that smelled of decay. She dragged it inside, her stomach churning, and tore it open. Another photograph, bigger, clearer. It showed her standing in the kitchen, holding the first photo, her face twisted in terror. The angle was close, too close, taken from just behind her, where the wall should have been, and in the corner of the image, something blurred, something tall. Its edges wrong, like it didn't belong in the light. Emma screamed, the photo falling into the box, where it landed on something soft, something moving. She stumbled back, knocking over a chair, her eyes locked on the box as it twitched, the cardboard buckling inward. The lights flickered again, slower, like the house was dying. Her phone buzzed, the screen cracking as it lit up with a new message. It's already inside. The air turned cold, sharp, like breathing in needles. Emma's gaze darted to the shadows behind her, where the hallway stretched into darkness. Something shifted there, just for a second, a flicker of movement, too tall, too thin, its shape bending in ways that made her mind scream. She didn't turn around. She couldn't. The box on the table rattled, the sound wet and deliberate, like fingers scraping from the inside. The air turned cold, sharp, like breathing in needles. Emma's gaze darted to the shadows behind her, where the hallway stretched into darkness. Something shifted there, just for a second. A flicker of movement, too tall, too thin, its shape bending in ways that made her mind scream. She didn't turn around. She couldn't. The box on the table rattled, the sound wet and deliberate, like fingers scraping from the inside. No one knows what Emma saw that night. The next morning, her house was silent. The door hung open, swaying in the wind. The boxes were gone, the photographs too, but the kitchen floor was streaked with something dark, something that didn't dry. Her phone was found in the yard, its screen shattered, the last message still glowing. You were the delivery. Some doors should stay locked. Some packages aren't meant to leave. There's nothing quite like the comfort of ordering food on a stormy night. The rain pounding outside, the promise of something warm arriving at your door. It feels safe, doesn't it? But sometimes what pulls up to your house isn't just a delivery. Sometimes it's something else entirely. This is a story about a man named Mark and a pizza he never should have ordered. Mark lived in a modest apartment on the edge of town, the kind of place where the streetlights barely reached. It was a Friday night, and a storm was tearing through, wind howling, rain hammering the windows like it wanted to get inside. He was restless, hungry, so he did what anyone might. He opened a delivery app and ordered a pizza. Pepperoni, extra cheese. Simple. The app pinged back. Driver, Alex. Estimated arrival. 20-minute Mark settled onto his couch, the TV muttering in the background, half drowned by the storm. He didn't think much of it when, exactly 20 minutes later, headlights sliced through the rain, painting his living room in a sickly yellow glow. A car idled at the curb, engine rumbling louder than it should have, even through the downpour. Mark squinted out the window, waving to let the driver know he saw them. But the figure in the driver's seat didn't move, just sat there, hunched, face hidden under a dark hood, untouched by the dashboard's light. Unease prickled at Mark's neck, but he brushed it off. Maybe Alex was checking the order, or just tired. He grabbed some cash, pulled on a jacket, and opened the front door. The rain was cold, stinging his skin. But what stopped him dead wasn't the weather. The pizza box was already there, right on his doorstep, sitting in a puddle, its edges curling from the wet. No knock, no doorbell. Just there, like it had been waiting for him. Mark frowned, glancing at the car. It hadn't moved, engine still growling, headlights glaring like eyes. The driver's silhouette was still, too still, head bowed, as if staring at something in their lap. Hey, thanks, Mark called, forcing a smile, his voice swallowed by the storm. No response. Not a nod, not a wave. Just nothing. He scooped up the box, the cardboard soggy under his fingers, and hurried inside, locking the door a little faster than usual. Back in the warmth of his apartment, Mark set the box on the kitchen counter. It smelled faintly of pizza, but something else too. Something sharp, like damp earth. As he opened it, a slip of paper fluttered out, landing on the floor. He froze. It wasn't a receipt, It was a torn piece of notebook paper, the kind you'd find crumpled in a drawer. Scrawled in uneven, shaky letters were 3 words: "Don't eat it." Mark's stomach twisted. He stared at the pizza, pepperoni, extra cheese, just as he'd ordered, but it looked wrong. The cheese was too pale, almost grey, and the sauce seemed to glisten in a way that made his skin crawl. He laughed it off, or tried to. Probably a prank, right? Some bored driver messing with him. He snapped the box shut and tossed it in the kitchen trash, tying the bag for good measure. But when he glanced out the window, the car was still there. Headlights on, engine running, the driver's hooded figure unmoving, like a statue carved from shadow. Mark told himself to ignore it. Maybe the guy was waiting for another order, or his car broke down. He turned off the TV, the silence rushing in, broken only by the storm's relentless drone. He checked the window again before bed. Still there. That car, its lights cutting through the rain like knives. Uneasy, he double-checked the locks, drew the curtains, and climbed into bed, willing himself to sleep. Hours later, deep in that hazy space between awake and dreaming, Mark heard it. A faint clatter, plastic against tile, coming from the kitchen. His eyes snapped open, heart thudding. The storm had quieted, leaving the apartment too still. He held his breath, listening. There it was again. A slow, deliberate rattle, like something shifting inside the trash can. He sat up, the air thick in his throat. The smell hit him next. Pizza, but wrong, glowing, like meat left out too long. It wasn't possible. He'd thrown it away, tied the bag, locked the door. His bare feet hit the cold floor as he crept toward the hallway, each step heavier than the last. The kitchen was dark, the trash can's lid ajar, rocking slightly as if something inside was moving. Mark froze at the threshold, his hand hovering over the light switch. He didn't want to see, didn't want to know, but the smell was choking now, filling his lungs. And then he heard it. Drip, drip, drip. Something leaking, pooling on the floor. His eyes adjusted to the dark, catching a glint of something wet spilling from the trash, something that wasn't sauce. And behind it, in the corner of the room, a shadow shifted, too tall, too thin, its edges flickering like static. Mark stumbled back, his voice caught in a scream that wouldn't come. The footsteps followed. Squelch, squelch, slow, heavy, dragging across the tile. He slammed his bedroom door, shoving a chair under the knob, his hands shaking so badly he could barely grip it. The smell was everywhere now, seeping under the door, and the footsteps stopped, right outside. The next morning, a neighbor noticed Mark's door cracked open, rain pooling on the floor. The pizza box was gone, the trash can empty, but the kitchen reeked of something foul, something no cleaner could erase. Mark was nowhere to be found. His phone, left on the counter, had one new notification from the delivery app. "Alex, thanks you for your order. See you soon. Some deliveries don't need a tip. Some just take what they came for."